This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Wednesday, August 12th. First up, Sounds Profitable Business Summit. The inaugural Sounds Profitable Business Summit takes over Terminal 5 in Manhattan on September 14th and 15th. This exclusive partner-only event brings together the industry's top brands, agencies, publishers, and platforms for 2 days of research-backed insights, strategic conversations, and meaningful networking. If you're already a Sounds Profitable partner, you can claim your ticket today. If you're not a partner yet, you can become one to buy your Summit Pass and join the conversation shaping what's next in podcast advertising. Now for our top story. Acast acquires Backyard Ventures, accelerating omnichannel monetization for podcasters. Acast has acquired Backyard Ventures for $20 million, with $16 million in cash at closing and $4 million in deferred shares over 2 years. Backyard Ventures represents more than 200 premium creators across podcast, YouTube, newsletters, and social. Acast frames the deal as combining its enterprise ad technology and programmatic demand with Backyard's video expertise and direct advertiser relationships to enable omni-channel creator monetization across audio, video, social, and newsletters. Next up, Spotify moves to label and limit AI in music. Spotify is asking artists to disclose when their music is AI-generated, part of a broader effort to bring transparency to synthetic content, as reported by Bloomberg. Artists can self-identify through Spotify for Artists, and the company will begin reviewing profiles that appear to be photorealistic AI identities, starting with acts that meet defined audience thresholds. In a related move, as reported on the Streaming Wars, Spotify will label AI-generated artist identities as AI personas and exclude them from editorial and algorithmic recommendations, by default beginning in mid-September. AI personas remain in the catalog and reachable through search, direct links, and followers, but lose the recommendation surfaces that drive scaled streams and royalties. Next up, has podcasting reached saturation point? 7 specialists weigh in. The media leader asked 7 industry specialists whether podcasting has peaked, and the consensus was the medium is maturing rather than saturating. With more than 4.7 million podcasts worldwide, contributors including Audioboom's Stuart Last, Acast Greg Glenday, and Reach Studios' Ed Washington argued that ad spend still lags well behind consumption, and that discovery has shifted from podcast apps to social platforms, making clip-first, multi-platform distribution essential to reach. Sounds Profitable partner Brian Barletta said the more likely near-term outcome is not heavy-handed regulation of content, but standardization around advertising disclosures, measurement transparency, AI labeling, and copyright, which could make the medium easier for major brands to invest in at scale. And for our final top story, how do you describe a podcast? 4,819 Americans tell us what they think. Signal Hill Insights analyzed how 4,819 Americans define the word podcast, drawing on the Sounds Profitable 2025 edition of the Podcast Landscape Study. Only about 33 to 38% explicitly mentioned audio or listening, even though 64% said they expect podcasts to be audio only or usually audio, while roughly a third described the medium in terms of personal opinions, storytelling, and dialogue. About half emphasized informative or educational content. Just 7% of listeners and 8% of non-listeners define podcast as video only. Rees-Mandel connects the findings to the AMP Accords definition debate, noting that audio remains podcasting's defining feature even as video grows. As for the rest of the news, registration is open for Sounds Profitable's Ask a Marketer webinar, where Right Side Up's Christina Rubino and Quo's Tony Murray join Tom Webster on Tuesday, August 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time to work through the Podcast Atlas from the media buyer's perspective. Speaking of webinars, True Native Media the next day is hosting a free office hours webinar on August 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, where the team and Right Side Up's Fred Hadra will unpack how ad buyers actually evaluate podcasts behind the scenes, from professionalism and audience trust to what separates test buys from long-term partnerships. Audience Lift, a podcast and YouTube audience growth platform, ranked 616th on the 2026 Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies, with more than 1,000 podcasters, creators, and networks having used the service. Red Apple Media joined Triton Digital's Spreaker program, giving its podcast network access to programmatic advertising and premium demand. The Podcast Standards Project published a running list of hosting platforms and apps that support HLS video in RSS through the alternate enclosures tag. With 10 hosts, including Transistor, RSS.com, and Captivate already live, and Buzzsprout, Blueberry, and Spreaker committed to follow. Brian Morrissey's latest essay examines the dead internet theory and the collapse of the open web, arguing that as AI-generated content and walled gardens grow, publishers are leaning into events and direct audience relationships as scarcity-based business models. And on the latest episode of PodBiz, Magellan AI's Jim Ballas discusses how stronger podcast attribution unlocks advertiser budgets, why the medium's privacy-first architecture is an advantage as regulation tightens, and the most common mistakes advertisers make when entering podcasting. That'll do it for today's issue of The Download. You can find links to everything I just talked about by clicking the link in your show notes to go to our episode post on our website for today. You can also subscribe for the newsletter version if you would like the links emailed straight to you every day. Today's issue was written and produced by myself, Brian Barletta, Molly DeMillier, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and we'll see you tomorrow.